Let's be real here. We all have that one show that we are just dying to find out what happens next. These cliffhanger endings always keep us on the edge of our seat, just waiting to find out more. Some people are so eager to know the ending that they take it upon themselves and become the detective to pick apart the show and draw their own conclusions as to what they think will happen. On Peter's season of The Bachelor, I couldn't help but want to know who made it to the finale, who will make it to the top 4 and get the final roses. I relied heavily on the communication between the detectives of the show to look at what kinds of ideas and possible spoilers were out there. But this brings me to an interesting point. Where are these so-called detectives pulling their evidence from? What kind of logic are they using to communicate to other detectives about the show to formulate well-thought-out spoilers? Well, you're at the right place because I've taken it upon myself to examine what kinds of evidence or so-called logic the detectives use to find out who really makes it in the show. I'll be diving into 3 types of evidence and logic commonly used by Bachelor fans while communicating through their own theories. First, let's start off with reminding ourselves what logos is often defined as, which is simply the reason or logic behind a thought. Through examining the discussions of the Bachelor Nation, it can be clearly seen that fans favor the use of logic when formulating their own theories. Though logic can oftentimes be opinionated one way or another, some clear patterns can be seen, with the evidence behind the logic commonly stated. Now, let's get into our first type of detective on the loose, the social media examiner. It can be clearly seen that those trying to figure out the top contenders on Peter's season of The Bachelor often look at the contestants' follower account, posts, tweets, who they are following, etc., as a basis for their theories and claims. For example, a Reddit user stated, "Final 4 is released as filming happens, so Instagram followers normally favor the top 4 to 6 contestants." In addition, Reality Steve, who is a well-known blogger who is the main source for a lot of the spoilers, addressed that many used the idea that Madison follows one of Peter's best friends as a basis to this idea. Would she really be following her if she wasn't with Peter? Reality Steve examined this idea a little bit closer. He didn't let this idea draw any conclusions until he saw that one of Peter's best friends actually posted a photo with Madison. This was then used as logical proof, which had a stronger indication that maybe Madison was the one that Peter ended up with. However, another Reddit user stated that producers are really going the extra mile to make sure this season of The Bachelor is unspoiled. They are having contestants do a lot of random stuff on social media to throw people off, like using certain captions, liking certain pictures, and posting at specific times. These detectives really build on each other's ideas, which really gives a well-thought-out spoiler in the end. Now let us talk about a second form of logic that is often used when determining who will go on in the show, and that is those who formulate opinions based off of context clues. In Peter's season of The Bachelor, there was a lot of room for discussion about each episode, as it often ended off with an intense cliffhanger, a preview that had some pretty broad claims that led to a lot of speculation. Some statements and interviews also gave these so-called detectives a means for a prediction. One person responded to a spoiler video about Peter's season to The Bachelor, giving their own insight after hearing the statements that Peter's ending is unlike ever before, as seen on the screen. People really are picking apart everything said in the show. Another big thing being discussed during the show was when Madison was found in Auburn, Alabama, with producers, and a photo was posted on Twitter showing her being filmed. This raised a lot of speculation, and Steve Carbone said that fans assumed that Madison was seen being filmed because she was filming her intro package because she didn't win and is going to be the next Bachelorette. With logical reasoning, Steve shut this idea down by saying that the Bachelor announcement isn't for another month. They don't film Bachelorette intro packages a month in advance. The camera crew had nothing to do with that. It is obvious that speculations are thrown left and right. However, it is interesting to see how people really do work together to figure out who will win the final rose. Let's look at one more form of evidence often used, and that is how Peter reacts in interviews before the finale airs. Fans formulating theories often pull ideas from this. This can be seen when Peter hints that he found the love he was hoping for, which makes it seem as though he was with somebody at the moment, a fan said. Another thing that Peter said in an interview was, "I can say that I'm happy. I couldn't have expected it to work the way it did, but I'm happy with where I am right now. This statement alone gave hope to a lot of fans that he did end up with someone in the end. Although the season was not completely spoiled, people were able to detect who would make it all the way up to the top 2, using methods like examining social media, observing context clues throughout the show, and listening to Peter Weber's interviews before the last episodes aired. Fans really came together and contributed their ideas, thoughts, and logical reasoning behind their thoughts to try and solve the famous question, who will win the key to Peter's heart?